Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're looking at Novo Nordisk, a company that's just, well, completely taken over parts of the healthcare sector, hasn't it? Especially with that massive success of their GLP-1 drugs.
Oh, absolutely. When you think about the global leaders in diabetes care and now obesity care too, Novo Nordisk is right at the top. I mean, drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, these GLP-1s, they regulate blood sugar, appetite. They've really kicked off a huge shift in how we treat these conditions.
Totally. But, the stock itself has been on a real roller coaster this past year. It flew up, then corrected pretty hard. Now it's trading near, what, $59? That's a decent climb back from its 52-week low, which is down around $45.05.
Right.
So the big question really is simple. Is now a good time to buy Novo Nordisk? We've gathered up the latest analysis, the financials, the technical charts, trying to give you the clearest picture possible.
Yeah, and it's more than just looking at the stock price, isn't it? This is a company that seems to be going through a pretty significant transformation. High stakes involved. They're not just, milking the current cash cows. They seem to be making some big strategic moves, changing things up.
Okay, let's unpack that. Maybe start with the foundation. The financials look incredibly strong, like a fortress.
They really do. I mean, you look at the numbers and you see why people talk about a moat. Trailing 12-month revenue. It's huge. $49.11 billion. And get this, as of October 2025, their net income, a massive $17.49 billion. This is a company just generating enormous profits consistently.
Wow, $17.5 billion net income.
Yeah.
That's huge for pharma. How solid is that? Because that must mean their margins are pretty spectacular, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. The trailing net margin is sitting right around 35.6%. Our analysis suggests that's genuinely best in class for the sector. So yeah, they turn revenue into profit way more efficiently than almost anyone else in their space. And that kind of profit isn't just for show. It throws off a ton of free cash flow, a real war chest.
Which they absolutely need, right, to fend off competitors like Eli Lilly.
Precisely. We saw their operating cash flow, the OCF, top $17 billion last year. That steady stream of cash is what lets them do everything else. They can pour money into R&D to stay ahead, and they can reward shareholders. The dividend yield is currently, around 2.06%? That strong balance sheet supports it all.
And that moat you mentioned, it's built on market share too, isn't it?
Yeah.
The numbers are impressive, over 30% worldwide in diabetes, and even higher, like 45% worldwide in that booming obesity market.
Yeah, and you combine that market dominance with how complex their R&D is. These aren't simple pills, plus the brand recognition they have for Ozempic and Wegovy. It just creates really high barriers for anyone trying to compete. You can't just copy this overnight. The regulatory hurdles alone take years.
So given that solid base, it's maybe not surprising the analyst outlook we found is so bullish.
Not surprising at all. The consensus 12-month price target has been creeping up. It's now at $85.25.
Okay, so from the recent close near $59, that's implying quite a bit of upside, like 43%.
Exactly. And that's just the consensus. If you look at the really optimistic end, like Cantor Fitzgerald, they've put a target of $160 out there. When you see that kind of broad agreement, it usually suggests the big institutional money saw that earlier dip as a buying opportunity on a fundamentally strong company.
Okay, makes sense. Before we get into why it dipped so hard, just a quick reminder for you listening.
Right.
If you're finding this useful, please do subscribe, like, and comment. We really appreciate the feedback. And hey, if there's a specific company you'd like us to take a look at next time, drop it in the comments below.
Yeah, definitely let us know. It helps us figure out what topics you're interested in.
All right, so that's the financial powerhouse story. But it still doesn't quite explain that huge drop we saw earlier this year. Why did the market get so spooked? And what are the charts telling us now?
Yeah, it was a sharp fall. You got to remember, the stock hit a high over $120.56 in 2024, then bang, all the way down to $45.05. That's a serious correction. But the way the price is acting now, it really suggests the bottom is in, and we're seeing a pretty solid reversal taking shape.
Okay, so what are the technical signs? What should people be looking for on the chart?
Well, first off, it's holding steady near $59. And crucially, it broke above that resistance level that was kind of pinning it down between $57 and $58. That's a positive sign. And importantly, it's now trading above its 50-day moving average, which is sitting around $56. That tells technicians the short-term trend has turned positive.
So the selling pressure seems to have dried up and buyers are stepping back in, momentum shifting.
That's exactly what it looks like. And if you check the relative strength index, the RSI, it's in that sort of neutral to bullish zone around 53 to 55. What that means is it's not overbought yet. There's still potentially plenty of room for the stock to run higher before people start worrying it's gone up too fast too soon. So technically, this setup looks like it could support a move towards, say, $58 to $75 by the end of 2025.
And that technical picture seems to be lining up with the general feeling, the sentiment out there. It looks like the smart money, the institutions, are getting back on board.
Absolutely. We're seeing positive institutional inflows. Big funds were definitely adding to their positions after that correction, basically buying the dip. And that often influences retail investors, too. Their sentiment has also become visibly positive, as one source put it. Analyst conviction is also really strong. I think it was 9 out of 11 analysts we track rate the stock a buy. You don't often see that kind of agreement in this sector.
Okay, so strong foundation, technicals turning up. Now let's get into the more forward-looking stuff, the big events, the strategy changes. Let's start with that restructuring plan they announced back in September 2025.
Right. This was a pretty major announcement from management. A global restructuring involves cutting 9,000 jobs and putting a hiring freeze in place through 2026. This isn't just minor trimming around the edges, it's a clear strategic move. They specifically said they want to get the growth rate of their operating expenses below 10%. It had been running much higher, like 16% to 24%.
Cutting 9,000 positions? That's aggressive. Is that a sign management is worried about growth slowing down? Or is it more about protecting those amazing margins you mentioned earlier, just tightening the belt?
Based on our sources, it looks more like the latter. It seems like a proactive step to fight back against rising costs across the sector and really to strengthen that balance sheet for future R&D pushes. The market reaction at first was a bit mixed, job cuts always raise eyebrows, but actually quite a few analysts ended up upgrading the stock after the announcement. They saw it as management being decisive, protecting those crown jewels, the high profit margins.
And we get a quick test of that strategy very soon, right? With the Q3 2025 earnings report, looks like it's due either October 30th or November 5th.
Yep, very soon. And the market's expecting big things, continued double-digit growth year over year for both earnings per share and revenue.
So that earnings call becomes a key moment.
Definitely a catalyst, because everyone will be listening closely for any early signs of cost savings from that huge restructuring. It's really the first chance for management to show, hey, this plan is starting to work, we're getting costs under control. They need to deliver on that.
But even bigger than earnings.
Yeah.
The real game changer, the thing that could really define Novo Nordisk's future is that massive event scheduled for December, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This could be the most important clinical trial result in the company's entire history. The data readout for the EVOKE and EVOKE Plus Alzheimer's trials on December 12th, 2025. If this trial is successful, wow, it could instantly open up a whole new multi-billion-dollar market for them in neurodegenerative diseases. It moves them way beyond just diabetes and obesity.
So a positive result basically re-rates the whole company, gives them a completely new growth story for potentially decades.
Exactly. It would diversify where their money comes from, and it would validate using these GLP-1 type mechanisms for brain diseases, which is huge. But if the trial fails, that would really raise questions about where their next big growth engine comes from after Wegovy. It could easily trigger another big sell-off. The stakes are incredibly high. Binary is the right word.
And whenever the stakes are that high, you always get the rumors swirling, the speculative buzz. What's floating around right now that might be adding to the momentum?
Well, we're hearing whispers about a couple of things. First, maybe some new, unexpected partnerships to boost manufacturing for their advanced GLP-1 drugs in 2026. That suggests demand is still just off the charts. Second, some chatter about potential M&A, maybe buying up smaller companies working on neurodegenerative drugs, especially if that EVOKE data looks good in December. Now, these are just rumors, right? Unconfirmed. But they definitely add some spice and can fuel short-term trading interest.
Okay, we've covered the strengths, the potential upside, the catalysts, but we have to look at the other side too. What are the big risks? What could potentially derail this bullish story?
Yeah, absolutely critical to consider. I think you have to start with the external stuff, the geopolitics. The big one is those ongoing trade tensions between the U.S. and Europe, specifically that 15% tariff that got slapped on in 2025. We don't know the exact product, maybe specialized devices or ingredients, but it's a direct hit to their profitability in the huge U.S. market. It's a real headwind they have to constantly manage.
And even though Novo Nordisk is the leader now, they've basically invited fierce competition because this market is so massive. You mentioned Eli Lilly earlier. They're not standing still.
Not a chance. That competition from Lilly, particularly in obesity drugs, is a major, major threat. And looking a bit further out, say the next 3 to 5 years, you've got the looming pressure from biosimilars potentially emerging and key patents starting to expire. So while those margins are fantastic now, there's definitely going to be structural pressure coming. That makes executing perfectly on that restructuring plan absolutely essential.
And then there are the broader risks that affect the whole sector, right? Like
Right.
regulatory changes, pricing controls.
Exactly. That's always hanging over the pharma industry, especially potential pricing controls in the US or Europe. Now, Novo Nordisk's huge global footprint gives them some protection against localized price hits, but general uncertainty about healthcare regulation is just a constant factor management has to deal with. Ultimately, their success over the next year really comes down to defending that market share against Lilly and others and making that big restructuring plan actually deliver the cost savings they promised.
Okay, so let's try and pull it all together. We've got the deep financial strength, those best-in-class margins. We've got the technical charts showing a recovery off the lows, and these huge potential catalysts coming up soon.
Right. When you put all that together, the sources we looked at lean pretty clearly towards an overall bullish rating. They landed on an 8.5 out of 10. The core investment argument really rests on those undeniable long-term growth trends in obesity and diabetes, combined with Novo Nordisk's dominant position in those markets. The stock's recovery suggests the market is starting to agree that the earlier sell-off went too far.
So it looks potentially attractive from two angles, maybe for shorter-term traders playing the momentum, the upcoming catalysts, and also for longer-term investors looking to capture those big secular health trends.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. It's a compelling setup, grounded in solid science and clear market leadership.
It definitely is. But it loops back to that massive potential game changer we discussed, the Alzheimer's trial. So maybe here's the final thought for you to chew on. Beyond the immediate earnings numbers and the fantastic GLP-1 sales, how much of Novo Nordisk's valuation right now and going forward is already banking on success in that December EVIC Alzheimer's trial? And if they do succeed, what does that really mean for the company's identity? How profound is that strategic shift into neurodegenerative diseases? Something to think about.